So apparently WWE Draft might be coming back, at least according to Andrew Zarian of the Madman podcast. He said that on the 30th of August as well as the 3rd of September, WWE is planning to bring back the draft. And that's actually pretty fun because I feel like Raw is probably the most stale wrestling product in the world right now. SmackDown, if you exclude Roman Reigns, is also pretty shit. NXT is decent, but we're not going to talk about them right now. So a mix-up will be really good because on Raw and SmackDown we're having the same match again and again and again, and it's not fun. So, how would I draft every single superstar on each brand and why? Let's talk about it. This is how I would book the WWE Draft of 2021. Let's begin. Okay, first of all, let's talk about a couple of rules. Number one, USA and Fox Network have both agreed that the WWE Champion Bobby Lashley will stay on Raw, while the Universal Champion Roman Reigns will stay on SmackDown. They are not up for the draft. They are excluded. Number two, I'm not doing any NXT call up because anyone they actually call up, they end up wasting. So I'm not gonna do that. Number three, I'm not considering anyone that is a legend. So John Cena, Edge, and even Brock Lesnar, people like them are out, or even people who are out of action right now. So Becky Lynch, Keith Lee, all those people are also out. And number four, on the 30th of August, all the people that are currently on Raw will be drafted. And on the next night, I mean the next SmackDown, all the people that are currently on SmackDown will be drafted. Alright, so let's start with the first round of the first night. With the World Championship gone, I think the Raw Women's Championship should be the most prestigious championship in the division and entirety of Raw. So obviously, Raw picks the Women's Champion first. Immediately, SmackDown picks up the US Champion because the US Championship is also very prestigious. So both of the champions are gone. Next up, Finn Balor. Some people might be asking, didn't you just say no NXT call ups? What's up with that? Simple answer, Finn Balor returns to the main roster before SummerSlam. I think he has done everything he needs to on NXT, and even he wants to return to the main roster, so personally, I think Finn returning to the main roster will be perfect. As of McIntyre, I perfectly believe that he has done everything on Raw, and a story between him and Roman Reigns is the big money match right now, and that could be really, really fun going forward. And finally, the Raw Tag Team Champions stay on Raw. And you might be surprised to see that it's Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, but I think they should win the championships on SummerSlam. With that said, let's move on to the next round. The next round is very interesting as the first draft pick for Raw is AJ Styles and Omos. The former tag champions are not going anywhere and they're staying on Raw, and they're going to be an important part of it going forward. And AJ is also going to be a part of the singles division because he's awesome. Charlotte is going to go to SmackDown because I feel like a match between her and Bianca Belair will be really good. And with all the Rhea Ripley stuff that's going on, hopefully that boils over until, let's say, SummerSlam. So by that time, I hope she is up for going for SmackDown because I think she'll be great on SmackDown. Next up, The Fiend. Why The Fiend? He's not out right now. I think they don't have anything for him right now, but he's not out of action. So he stays on Raw because I actually don't have anything for him right now. So him staying on Raw can be a potential feud between him and Finn Balor going forward. And if you want to make someone into a big deal, you need to make sure that they're drafted very early. And that is why I drafted Damian Priest to SmackDown. And I personally think Damian Priest should become the US champion within like weeks. He's really good, don't waste him. And the final pick for Raw is Asuka. I don't need to explain that. Asuka's really good. Let's move on to the next round. So, you might be surprised to see that Eva Marie and Piper Niven are the first pick for Raw. And I don't know actually if I would do that now that I think back on it, but they're pretty fun. I just saw them on Raw last night, and I personally feel like they could be really good going forward, given that they're not trying to make the story fat woman gets harassed by the skinny model storyline again when they did Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss last year or a year before that. That was pretty stupid. But yeah, I think they can be really good, and drafting them to Raw, keeping them on Raw is pretty fun. Jomo goes to SmackDown, and I think this is the only tag team split up that we see in this draft. I can't remember, probably. Jomo needs to be a part of the mid card, and matches between him and Sheamus and Damien Priest can be really fun. The Miz stays on Raw because I don't have anything for him. He's definitely not going to be a part of SmackDown because I don't want him and Damien Priest and John Morrison to be on the same brand ever again. Shayna Baszler might be moving to SmackDown, and the reason for that, I believe, is that she should split up from Nia Jax before SummerSlam. I believe that should happen, and she moves on to SmackDown because she versus Bianca Belair is a match I really want to see, and she can be a really good part of SmackDown going forward, potentially even winning the championship. Honestly. All right, so the last pick is Nia Jax. I don't have much to say, just keep her on Raw. Here comes the next round. The New Day get drafted to Raw because I think the New Day should stay on Raw and keep feuding with RK Bro. Woods and Riddle have the best chemistry on Raw right now, and I would love to see that going forward. That would be really, really fun. Voodoo Doll, Alexa, Bliss, and Lily move over to SmackDown because I don't know. I don't want them on Raw because The Fiend is on Raw, and I don't want them to be ever close to each other again. Fuck you. You ruined The Fiend, Alexa. Oh. Ricochet stays on Raw because I think he is highly, highly underappreciated how good he is, and he can stay here and, spoilers, fight for the Intercontinental Championship, a championship he should win because he's really good. Jeff Hardy moves over to SmackDown because I feel like a program between him and Roman Reigns can be really, really fun. I feel like a veteran taking on a sort of young up and comer in Roman Reigns will be a good story to tell. And finally, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke stay on Raw because they can actually eventually go for the tag team championship or even face Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. Why not? Round 5 begins now. Round 5 should be probably the last round you air on television, and the rest you can just air on, I don't know, WWE.com or the YouTube channel for all I care. But the round starts off with Humberto Carrillo staying on Raw. Man, make him a part of the mid card division. He's really good. And don't make him job out to Sheamus almost every other week because that's stupid. I don't like that at all. And yeah, he can eventually win the Intercontinental Championship. A match between him and Ricochet seems really fun. Jinder Mahal and his lackeys move over to SmackDown because I feel like this stable can be a pretty decent heel stable on the mid card on SmackDown. And Jinder Mahal is not that good, but a mid card stable can be really fun actually. The Viking Raiders stay on Raw because I think the tag division needs them. It's not that full, but an actual tag team along with New Day and RK Bro and AJ Styles and Omos, it feels like the same thing going on. But with SmackDown eventually coming up, I feel like it will be a pleasant surprise for the tag team division. Nikki Cross goes over to SmackDown because they're wasting her on Raw, and Naomi stays on Raw because I think she should challenge for the Raw Women's Championship. Although she just got squashed by Piper Niven, so what do I know? Anyway, round 6 up next. Cedric Alexander is the first pick because the young up and comer actually needs to stay on Raw. He can be a he can eventually even face Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship because they have that history together, and I would really like that to happen. Lucha House Party moves over to SmackDown because the SmackDown division needs a little bit more tag teams. Elias stays on Raw because I don't want him going to SmackDown. Shelton Benjamin goes to SmackDown because I think he can be one of the main guys on the mid card and even potentially challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship because he's a veteran and he's really good. Never forget that Shelton is actually pretty good in the ring. And finally, Jackson Riker stays on Raw, but honestly, if I was WWE, I would fire him. I don't like the guy at all. And they're turning him babyface of all things. When the crowds come back, I don't expect a single person to actually cheer him after what he did. And I'm not talking about the Trump tweets. Round 7 up next. So, the only people from Retribution that actually keep their name is T Bar and Mace because they till now have been keeping their name and their goddamn mask for some reason. They took off the mask, but they also have the face paint on, so stupid. They stay on Raw because the tag team division now they can be a really big like threat on the tag team division, which I really like. Mustafa Ali moves on to SmackDown, and also Mansoor moves on to SmackDown, and they become a tag team and they enter the tag team division because I feel like they would be a very fun tag team. Mia Yim, she is a part of Raw, and she becomes a singles wrestler, and she is no longer a part of Retribution. Hell, repackage her if you want, but make her a part of the women's division and um, make her challenge for the Raw Women's Championship. And when Keith Lee comes back, hell, even make her and Keith Lee a power couple. That will work really well. As I said, Mansoor enters the tag team division on SmackDown along with Mustafa Ali. And finally, Angel Garza stays on Raw. No one cares, but I hope they do. He's a pretty decent wrestler. And finally, the last round, round 8. The final champion to be drafted is the 24/7 champion Akira Tozawa. He is drafted to Raw because I don't want any of the 24/7 shenanigans to happen on SmackDown. Drew Gulak goes to SmackDown because I think he should be a pretty decent member of the tag team division, even the mid card division, along with, let's say, Shane Thorne. That'll be pretty fun. Yeah, I think he should be a tag team member going forward, tag team division member going forward, and even a mid card person, but he should not be a jobber at all. He's really good. R-Truth stays on Raw because he has forever been on Raw and he's going to stay on Raw. Shane Thorne, the former Slapjack, I believe, he moves on to SmackDown to become one of the staples of the mid card because Shane Thorne is really good. Never forget that. And Riddick Moss stays on Raw because we need some jobbers. All of those were the picks from Monday Night Raw. On the 3rd of September, all the people from SmackDown will be picked, and remember that Roman Reigns is not a part of the draft. He is special. So, here are my picks for the first round of the second night of the draft. Raw immediately picks up the Intercontinental Championship because they don't have a mid card champion. They have lost the US Championship, so they capture the Intercontinental Championship and get Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz in the process, while SmackDown keeps their Women's Champion in Bianca Belair. Next up, Bayley goes to Raw because I feel like Bayley has done a lot on SmackDown, but it's time for her to go to Raw and actually mess up with Rhea Ripley. That'll be very fun. And even form a tag team with Carmella, let's say. That would be pretty good. Jey Uso is a first round pick and he stays on SmackDown. And the commentators put over that because of the influence of Roman Reigns, Jey Uso has become a first round pick, that is. And let me tell you this, why Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso are not drafted together as the Usos, because Roman has not allowed them to be a tag team yet. This is important. And finally, the women tag team champions, Natalya and Tamina, move over to Raw. That is important. I think they should only appear on Raw, but the tag teams from SmackDown can sometimes appear on Raw as well to challenge them. That's I really don't care, but yeah, that's what happened. Let's move on to the next round, that is round 2. Cesaro moves over to Raw, and I would not mind him becoming the new WWE champion by defeating Bobby Lashley, actually. That will be pretty good. And pull the trigger on Cesaro, it's been a damn while. Rey Mysterio and Dominic stay on SmackDown because they are the tag team champions, and SmackDown needs the tag team champions, don't they? The Street Profits go to Raw because the tag division needs them. They've done a lot on SmackDown, and they can eventually face RK Bro, which I feel like would be a really good match. The boss Sasha Banks stays on SmackDown because the match between her, Baszler, Charlotte, and Bianca Belair is pretty similar to how I pitched the entirety of 2021 booking of the women's division on SmackDown. You can check that video up on the top right corner. And finally, Carmella goes to Raw and she can even form a tag team with Bayley and enter the tag division. Or she can even mess up with Eva Marie about who's the more prettier woman. That Vince McMahon loves that. Why not? With that said, let's go down to the next round, that is round 3 of the second night. Shinsuke Nakamura is our next pick, and he moves over to Raw. The reason he's going over to Raw is because I think he should be a pretty decent member of the mid card and even a future main eventer. I feel like he should at least once win the WWE Championship. He hasn't yet, which is sad, but yeah, one of the best Japanese wrestlers of all time. I should not have to justify this. Seth Rollins stays on SmackDown because I can see a feud between him and Roman Reigns down the line. That will be really fun. I feel like that would be really, really cool. Kevin Owens goes to Raw because I really can see Bobby Lashley versus Kevin Owens, and that will be really fun. And eventually, Finn Balor, if he wins the WWE Championship, Finn Balor versus Kevin Owens seems like a very, very good night to me. Jimmy Uso is a third round pick and he stays on SmackDown. The commentators put over that Jey Uso, who has aligned himself with Roman, is a first round pick, but Jimmy Uso, who is still fighting Roman Reigns by the way, is a third round pick. This just shows how much more power Roman has in the overall structure of WWE. Finally, Sami Zayn goes to Raw because he claims that this is all a conspiracy to move him over to Raw so that he doesn't find out that there's a conspiracy going on in SmackDown, but he will uncover the truth. Why not? Round 4 up next. This is the final round of the draft because there were no one else on the SmackDown roster, which seems really stupid, but that's kind of the case, isn't it? The SmackDown roster is really, really, really small. It's really small. But anyway, the first draft for Raw is another member to their tag team division, and that is Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. I feel like I've sent a lot of people over to Raw for the tag team division, but a lot of singles people who come over from Raw can also form tag teams on SmackDown, so that will be pretty good. Big E stays on SmackDown because I think Big E should probably be the guy to overthrow Roman Reigns with the help of New Day. That will be pretty good. Liv Morgan goes to Raw because I feel like she is being absolutely wasted on SmackDown. She's really good, like really, really good. And she has improved a lot in the last few years. And even though both of her tag team members are now no longer a part of WWE, she can be a pretty good part of the Raw Women's roster. Alpha Academy stays on SmackDown because I need tag teams. And finally, Baron Corbin moves over to Raw because he was the last guy undrafted. So, that are all my picks for the draft of 2021. Here is the entire Raw roster. And here is the entire SmackDown roster. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, thank you everybody so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to let me know in the comments and also like, share, and subscribe. And that will help out the channel a lot. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And also be sure to let me know what you want to see next. I would love to make videos that you guys want to see. Also be sure to follow me at the rate NLP_YouTube on Twitter to get a potential shout out at the beginning of the video. Thanks again, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.